Hello, I'm Bookface, and I have unintentionally found probably the most horrifying video topic I have ever researched by a wide margin. So I kind of thought this video would just be a little quirky, unique form of supernatural creatures. Kind of like when I did a video on were-tigers, and it's a very specific topic that you gotta research properly, because, there's a limit on how many there are. And I thought, since this one's incredibly niche to a very small area and very particular in what it is, it's unique, it's interesting, it's just maybe even a little silly. But in my research I discovered that fact is stranger than fiction, except fact is god-awful horrifying compared to fiction, because the historical background in this is so disturbing. And the scariest part being that at least some level of it might actually be true. So first off, some background. All these stories are from a fairly small section of South America, mostly around Peru and the Andes Mountains. And these stories are about vampires that steal human body fat instead of blood. See why I thought, hey, that's unique. Throw in a Weight Watchers joke or something. Ha ha ha, creative. But then we get to the historical aspect of why this creature appeared in the first place, because it is noted to have sort of appeared in the folklore. It's not like a lot of other mythological things that go thousands of years back. Instead, a lot more like modern enough that we can sort of trace it, mostly back to colonialism times, when the conquistadors were there. And there were rumors that the conquistadors would kill native people and take their body fat to keep their guns from rusting. And if that is not the most horrifying thing I've ever heard, I've watched some messed up horror movies and read some horror stories that are like, oh god, that's horrible. But there's always that sense of, well, it's not real, it's just a horror movie. But this, granted, I don't think there's any confirmation of this, but and it even bleeds into modern day with some rumors of things like harvesting human fat and selling it on the black market like some kind of organ harvesting deal. And it's just so... Ugh. I tend to be very far from skeptical and believe there's some spooky supernatural stuff out there, maybe not some of the very specific, but like ghosts, afterlife, stuff like that. Stuff that generally isn't really scientifically explainable. But there's always still that disconnect of, well, it's just, a ghost story, basically. But this is like real world horror. This is things that could actually happen. So even though I can't really say if it did or didn't actually happen, the idea of that being suggested is just so disturbing in the possibility, the likelihood. It's a lot more likely than most of the horror stories I read. And it's scary. So with all that background out of the way, let's jump right in, and let's see the details on the horrifying image I've vaguely painted to give background information. Woo! First up we have the Fisticle.
The Fisticle?
Which comes from the Quechua word piste, which means to behead or slit one's throat. Off to a great start here. This is a Peruvian legend originating in the Andes Mountains. Looked like a tall white man wearing a white coat, which he uses to hide a knife. And this is something you'll see repeated a lot, that the detail of, it's just a white dude. To the point I actually had some trouble drawing anything unique. And it's definitely not really a stretch to say that this is sort of a cultural response to the exploitation of native people by Europeans. In most of the sources I read, it directly stated that that's what it is. It's pretty straightforward. Not a lot of subtlety in it, and you know what? There doesn't need to be. Fisticle sleeps a lot and drinks a lot of milk. Basically, this thing is advanced white. So white that it can only drink milk and other white substance. Oh god, back out. No. Oh, but also a random thing I just, thought of at the moment. Milk is incredibly high in fat, so that could be a part of it. Anyways, it's described as aggressive, powerful, and... mind you, this part I am quoting directly from my source. Over-endowed. Pardon? Okay, so with context and looking up the definition of endowed, I think that implies they're well endowed with money and stuff, well off in life. But man, if that's the case, it could really be phrased better. That really caught me off guard. It would take children, cut off their limbs and their head, and take the body fat from their torsos. Good God, what is this, a FNAF lore video? How many dead children are we gonna get in here? It sometimes served as a boogeyman figure, and y'all know my general thoughts on the boogeyman concept in general. I'd hope no one would go that in depth of, hey, you better not stay out too late, otherwise you're gonna get your head and limbs chopped off and have all the body fat stolen from your body and sold on the black market. Back by 7. Next we have the lik'ichiri. This is not how I would think that it's pronounced, but I actually had like a pronunciation guide in my source, which I very much appreciate. This creature comes from the Kalawaya people of the Andes, aka pronunciation guide. The creature is not the, native people. And these people are from Bolivia. Story emerged after the Spanish invaded. That's definitely not a coincidence. It attacks when somebody is drunk, pokes a hole near their liver, and enters their body and eats the fat tissue. This is an alcohol PSA too? Horrifying either way. Oh, and little information on the drawing, because this is the most unique one I did. So basically I modeled it after a parasite, because, kind of parasitic, whatever. But also, you see those claws? I sort of have them come together to a fine point so it can just swan dive into the little hole. And the image I have of that is horribly grotesque. I have a disturbed mind. So it takes the fat that it doesn't eat and sells it to hospitals and bishops. Now, the hospital is already kind of questionable, but I guess you could kind of say that they might have some need for human tissue from questionable sources. But, why the church need body fat? So apparently it was thought that they used it to make the church bells sound better, and some people actually thought you couldn't make the church bell sound the way it was without body fat. And, geez, that's wow. Having a lik'ichiri in you results in a high fever and odd behavior. I'd imagine so. If you had this thing, at least as I drew it, inside your body, moving around, chomping up body fat, I would act pretty weird too. I'd be like, guys, I feel like I'm about to have that chest burster scene in Alien. Help. And sometimes this was known to leave a scar, because, I'd imagine a hole in your torso that is either big enough or stretched to big enough to fit a human-sized creature inside your body to crawl around would probably leave a bit of a scar. Chewing cocoa leaves can ward off this creature, and that's also just sort of a general ward to a number of evil spirits in this area. It's like common belief. Chocolate is the key. Love it. Chocolate! Sad irony that comes from this, though. Chocolate companies are very guilty of heavily exploiting native people, mostly in Africa, with child labor and straight-up slavery sometimes. I'm going to leave a link in the description to a website called Slave Free Chocolate, which, as much as I appreciate the website, it's very sad that a website like that has to exist. So, this video got a lot more serious than I intended it to. I just wanted to talk about some weird vampires. Lastly, we have the lik'ichiri. Yes, it is pronounced lik'ichiri. Bit odd, but I got a pronunciation guide, so I'm not going to deny it. Which is a creature from the Andes Mountains, from the Quechua and Aymara people. The name means fat stealer, sometimes called the eye stealer. Ugh, great, even more horrifying. It's going to take your body fat or rip your eyeballs out. I don't know what that sound was. I don't even think I could recreate that if I tried. Initially, this creature was just thought to harass people, but later started killing people, as documented in, 1550. Wonder when colonization of South America was going on. 1500s. Interesting. There's definitely no connection there. Ha ha ha. So, this creature did exist in the mythology beforehand, but only became so horribly violent and terrifying after colonization. I probably don't need to spell out what that means, but I felt like, kind of worth mentioning. It's thought modern day to be a vampire or group of vampires that work with the plastic surgery business in America. I feel like most plastic surgery involves people who want less fat, not more. But, I don't know. I don't know plastic surgery. Sometimes they destroy Why can't I say this? Sometimes they destroy God. Sometimes they destroy oh God, why can't I say pistachio? Sometimes they destroy pistachio crops. I kind of thought that said Fisticle crops at first. They're growing out of the ground! Like daisies! This creature looks like a tall white man, and they walk around and gather up children, steal their eyes, and sell them overseas. It's believed to attack people while they sleep and can put people into a deep sleep. And if we're comparing that to a real-life scenario, it just gets so much worse. It cuts off large strips of fat from the body, but the wounds heal so quickly, most people don't actually know they were attacked. And to me, this seems odd because either it means they don't take that much at all, or people in this area really don't bat an eye at a significant loss of body fat in the middle of the night. You wake up and you're like 10 pounds lighter and you're like, huh. That's odd. I guess most people probably wouldn't complain about that, so long as they don't know the horrifying way that it occurs. So, in my source at least, it was said that a potion called achakachi would be used as a medicine if you were attacked by a lik'ichiri. But apparently that's a town in the Andes, and I don't know what to make of that. I don't know if it's some confusion in my source. I wasn't able to find the reason. And to ward off this creature, it was thought that garlic would lessen the value of the body fat, making you less of a target. It's kind of scary that it's not like a guarantee that it's not going to attack you. It just means like it has slightly less motivation to do so. But also, I looked it up. Apparently garlic is a known appetite suppressant and therefore can end up reducing body fat. So science time in this horrifying myth. And there we have 3. Ugh. History is not my favorite topic, and this is why. So, yeah, I think the next one I do is going to be lumberjack folklore, just as a nice little goof. I want to talk about some goofy stuff. It's important to talk about serious things, but I need to pace myself. Still, these were some fascinating myths. It shows you the importance of myth and folklore on a culture, because while these are just like, scary myths, occasionally like a boogeyman, it's also a commentary on some real serious issues in life. And not even some subtly related commentary. It is a direct statement, basically. You can't research these things without hearing about all the messed up stuff that occurred. And I just think it's a fascinating quality. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. If you have another very specific form of creature that you want me to talk about, let me know. I take it as a challenge, and I'll see you next time. Bye!